everyone. Happy day before Thanksgiving here in the United States and across the world. That sounds fun. Across the world, welcome to Love and Life Elevated. Good morning, sweetheart.
Hello. Happy day before Thanksgiving to you and to everyone.
You know what? There's so much about today that I love because this is, for us, it's snowing outside. Yeah. One of our daughters is home. And I don't know, I'm just feeling a great sense of gratitude. So thank you, honey, for sharing this life with me. And guys, thanks for taking just a couple moments. We promise we want to make today efficient, but also deep enough where they go, that was worth me taking some time out from, whether you're working, whether you're gathering family, whether you're putting together food. Just want to let you know how much we appreciate you and how much we love you.
Absolutely. And I know it may seem cliche to discuss gratitude today because that is what we want to talk about, but we want to do it a little bit differently and really go back to the origin of the word gratitude itself.
Yeah, I was fascinated because Deb and I were talking about this yesterday going, what do you want to talk about? We could go, well, there's so much research out there, primarily from Dr. Emmons, who's been studying gratitude for 3.5 decades. And we've done a lot of that in the treehouse, but I was really interested thinking about how gratitude and thankfulness have a root in the Latin gratia, which means grace or giving grace.
Which is so perfect. I was thinking how in the U.S. it's one of the busiest travel times of the year. And myself not being one of the most patient people generally just throughout my life, it's not my best virtue. I'm working on it still. But just to take a moment and give grace to those who are in service at this time of year, doing the best that they can, and take a breath before that you react and come at life. Give yourself grace, give others grace, and in that builds gratitude. You are so awesome. That is exactly what I really wanted to hear today from. I just want to hear that today, right? Yeah. I need to remind myself, right? If I have to go wait in line at the store or whatever, because it is so, it can get so busy and everyone is just in it for themselves this time of year. But pause, take a breath, be grateful that you can be out and about amidst it.
There is a lot to be said for this idea of grace. And it's interesting because I was digging into the research on the idea of giving grace, which you could insert the word giving love, giving compassion, giving space, giving all of these different things. Interesting enough, giving grace or having grace in your heart as an emotion has very similar, if not completely aligned benefits that gratitude does. Everything from helping you to sleep better, lowering cortisol, the stress hormone, increasing serotonin and dopamine, helping to regulate our nervous system, which I think this time of the year, regardless of whether it's Thanksgiving for you, preparing for the holidays, our nervous system can be a little wired and tired. We can find ourselves a little less patient, to your point, but also we find ourselves really kind of getting deeply in our own narrative. And it's hard to see what's going on around us. And grace, interesting enough, has been looked at as a physiological process of just taking a moment and giving something that reminds you of your blessings, reminds you of the gifts, reminds you of all the things that are happening. And I really do believe we get a chance to really take this idea of gratitude and thankfulness, regardless of where you are and if you're celebrating tomorrow, and really look at the power of grace. It was really interesting. I was reading a study on what it means when we take a moment before a meal, whether it's saying a prayer, saying something to be thankful for, thinking of someone you love. Any of those practices can be associated with grace. And a very interesting thing happens in our brain where we literally move out of that. What am I focused on from a standpoint of, just forgetting that we're all in this together. And I think right here in the United States right now, we're really looking to build bridges again. We're looking to find ways to move the division out of the way and start to really find our common humanity. And that common humanity, really looking around and actually having permission to see people with softer eyes, see ourselves with softer eyes, and practicing that level of connection through the ideas of giving grace and how that physiologically helps us to stop, pause, see something with a little bit more love, a little bit more softness, and then move into the next evolution, carrying that awareness so we continually grow in this idea of grace, compassion, and acceptance.
I was like, do I get to talk?
I'm sorry, sweetheart.
It's okay. It was wonderful and awesome, everything that you said, honestly. And when you were talking about some of the health benefits, there were a few things I wanted to add. One was how, and I love this, how it's anti-inflammatory, has can help decrease inflammation in the body, just that practice of gratitude. And if you think about, I think of anger being kind of pro-inflammatory, and then you think of grace being anti-inflammatory. So actually, when you are in that practice of grace, giving gratitude, giving thanks, you're actually helping to quell inflammation in the body. So that, and you're also helping to improve the immune system. So that practice of being in grace, decreasing that anger, decreasing inflammation, it also is going to help our immune system, which is so important this time of year, especially. And especially in the United States, when maybe we're going to eat a little bit more than we might. And also you're going to be around a lot of people, whether you're traveling. We need to have our immune systems up and strong, because it's going to be bombarded by negative energy, by sugar, by just crowds, right? So we want to fortify. And just one of the ways we can do that is pausing, taking a breath, giving others grace, giving ourselves grace. And guess what? I'm not going to do it perfectly this year. I'm going to lose my patience, but it's okay, because I'm going to take another breath and I'm going to do better in the next line that I step into.
Yeah, I think that idea of no one's going to do it perfectly and giving yourself grace for not doing things perfectly, it's an interesting time, I think, where perfectionism can really find its way into how to make the holidays go perfect. Is a turkey going to come out perfect? Is everyone going to show up on time? We get we get very rigid in how we think things have to go. And a lot of that can be past programming from family of origin stories. But giving grace and accepting people are going to be people, and you're going to be a student of people, and you're going to give yourself permission to evolve and grow and be aware. All of that is part of grace. And interesting enough, I read one thing this morning that I loved. It was talking about this idea of how gratitude can almost become, like, you can almost just go automatic pilot.
Right.
I write down 3 or 4 things. That's my gratitude practice, and I just kind of do it. But you don't necessarily give yourself completely to the practice. There was a study that was done on, they call it high and hard gratitude, where you really, really reach.
Is that like roses and thorns, or is it different?
It's different because they say high, meaning that I want you to really, really elevate the way that you really, really search for things that really get you connected and work at finding those blessings, because you don't want to go on automatic pilot. And if there's something you're working on and it's, some part of your spiritual practice, whatever practice that might be, it's a hard thing. But as you give yourself permission to be a student of it and practice it and not try to be perfect, that also augments the overall physiological and emotional benefits. High and hard, meaning that we really give ourselves permission to lean into the practice of gratitude, and you'll get that much more return on your intention, ROI.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many things floating around my head when you're talking about that, because it's reminding me of so many different practices that we can use in this moment to augment that sense of grace, that sense of gratitude. One, when you were talking about the high and hard, it made me think of, for some reason, meditation and loving kindness, because it starts a little easy. If you're familiar with loving kindness, you start with sort of honoring and appreciating yourself, then another person. But toward the end, you are giving thanks and blessing someone who you may have a challenge with, right? So it kind of reminded me of that high and hard practice. And then the other thing I was thinking, that when you're gathering, and gosh, we've had so many different rituals throughout the years. We have wonderful sunrise hike ritual that we do every year with other families that we don't then spend the meal with. We all gather in the morning, take in the sunrise after a wonderful, vigorous hike, and then we go our separate ways. However, what I was going to say is, what's really cool is all the hugs that we get. And these people maybe we see once a year, and maybe it's someone that we've heard things about, or we know we disagree on things, but getting in that hug, it softens everything. And we've been in service on the holiday, and gosh, no matter where you find yourselves this year, whether you're on your own, whether you're across the world from people that you love, whether you're surrounded by everyone, just take a moment and pause and be grateful for that moment and make eye contact, whether it's in line with a stranger, whether it's with your cat who's sitting right across from us right now. It's just such a time to really reflect, connect with yourself, give yourself grace for any mistakes that you may have made throughout the year, as well as time to forgive others who may have, been mistaken in your eyes, our eyes. And just, I'm so grateful that I can just be here, sitting here, covered by a wonderful home and with an amazing partner, having at least one of two of our daughters home and our furry friends and all of you. Thank you so much for being here and supporting us.
That was beautiful, sweetheart. I just want to, what you remind him of that whole idea of walking the planet with a level of grace.
Yeah.
This is potentially a practice, and talk about high and hard. And I hope you can kind of walk with me on this one. I'm always struck by stories about Gandhi and how Gandhi, during a very difficult period in India, doing a lot of political strife, a lot of division, and how Gandhi took it upon himself to walk all over India. And his whole practice was under his breath to be saying Ram, Ram, Ram. And it was continuous for him. He said it literally tens of thousands of times a day through his day. And he said why he wanted to do that. He wanted to be able to meet himself and anyone who was in his path with grace. He wanted to not let him fall asleep on the work at hand, which is to be a spiritually awakened human being who carried love, who didn't allow judgment or hate or division to find its way in. That may sound like a real high and hard right now, but just this idea of taking time throughout the day to remind yourself, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? What does grace look like? What does love do? And see how many times you can carry that into your day. Every interaction, strangers, people you love. And then, of course, seeing yourself throughout the day being that person. Over and over again, reciting and practicing the person you would love to be, carrying grace. So
yeah, I love that story just dropped in for you, because it's a perfect way to end this, and it's a perfect visual to leave all of us with. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we wish you a beautiful Thanksgiving here in the United States. Safe travels, blessings all the way around and across the planet for people who are joining us. Please know how much we carry gratitude for you and send our love to you and all the people that you love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Bye for now.
Bye.